Welcome to the Gate 7 International Podcast, your official English source for all things Olympiakos FC and Greek football.
The first day of training is when I realized, this is why they win the league every year.
When I spoke with Kevin, if I'm going to sign or no for Olympiakos, he said, you are crazy, go direct, my friend.
Να πετύχω, ήθελα να μείνω στην ιστορία του Ολυμπιακού.
I can't speak, sure.
Yeah.
Έλα ρε μαλάκα!
Σ' αγαπώ πάρα πολύ, Πειραιάς. Είμαι Γάβρος πάντα, όλοι μαζί.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from. We are Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiakos, your international home for the red and white legends. My name's Costa. I'm joined by the other Costa.
Also Costa.
How you doing?
I'm good. All the better for hosting a show with you. It's been a while since it was just the two of us.
Yes, sir. And just watching that introduction again, I was thinking, it's probably overdue a bit of a, let's say, a refresher. And in particular, I think we need to add this guy into the intro again. This is just a selfless plug again for those of you that missed the interview with Jose Jolevas. A real, how can I even describe that interview? Just one that you can't miss. A man that did not hold back on anything. A real fun interview. You can find that on our YouTube channel, and it's available also on audio podcasts. A few things to get through before we dive into the Olympiacos Stαντάρ Λιέγη game and entertainment.
Housekeeping, we call it. Housekeeping.
But we had a 6-goal thriller, if you can call it that. It was a friendly 6 goals. And we're going to talk about that and get into our analysis and overview of the mini training camp, mid-season training tour, whatever you want to call it, that took place in sunny Marbella in the south of Spain. But before we do get that, a couple of housekeeping things. First thing, a big thank you to our sponsors at betus.com. Guys, if you're a betting man, I have to say that the odds that you can find on BetUS are some of the best, if not the best that I've seen. I shit you not. Head over to betus.com.pa. They've put some really good betting lines, obviously to try and attract you away from some of the other competitors. Go and check them out at betus.com.pa. You can use the promo code GATE7INTL as it is there on the screen, and you can get a 125% boost on your deposit. So if you put $100, you'll have $225 in your account to bet. Don't forget, please bet responsibly. Thank you again to BetUS. And Olympiakos DC, this is one of the academy teams of Olympiakos based out of DC in the United States. They are through to the UPSL division finals in the US. It's the third time in a row that they reached the UPSL division finals. Just to contextualize that, this is fourth division US football. That's one division below the pro leagues. So what happens if they win? If they win tonight, they go and play on the national stage. Yeah. So they will be playing up against the best clubs in the country, in the United States. They play at midnight tonight. That's Central European time, 6 p.m. US Eastern Standard. If anybody's up, you don't have anything to do tonight. If you fancy going and watching the boys online, leaving a few comments, you can check them out. It's going to be live streamed here at Gate 7 International at midnight Central European time, 1 o'clock Greek time. Give some support, show some love to the boys. And speaking of showing some love, you're joining us tonight. Hit that like button. It really helps to spread, get the algorithm going, find more Olympiakos fans around the world. If you're new to the channel, if you're joining for the first time, we're Gate 7 International, your international and English source for all things Olympiakos. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, more great content coming along, like that Holevas interview. Go to the playlist. There are more. We've talked to Elias, Dudu, Gilet.
Zetterberg, Zile, yes, Nikopolidis.
And on audio, you can catch Giannakopoulos, Matt Derbyshire as well. Those are available on audio. Before we started doing YouTube interviews, or before we had a YouTube channel, you can catch those episodes with Giannakopoulos, Matt Derbyshire on audio podcast. That's available on our on Spotify, Apple, wherever you like to listen and download your podcasts. All right. Did I miss something, Costa, from the housekeeping?
Piraeus International.
Big up Piraeus International. If you're looking to ship from the US or from Greece, check out www.piraeusintl.com. Whether you're looking to ship goods, marble, whatever, Piraeus International are your guys. So big up Piraeus International once more. Thank you for all the support. I suppose we can get a few transfer things out of the way right quick, because we've had some developments today. Costa, what have we got?
Well, I mean, first of all, Leonardo Koutris has left Olympiakos. Quite a strange one, this. Leonardo Koutris joined from Pasianina in 2017. He was seen as one for the future, someone that would become a focal point at Olympiakos, and maybe, he would have been sold to a big club for a lot of money, one of those Greek players. That didn't exactly work out. He joined Olympiakos, quickly fell out of favor because of course Tsimikas had a really serious injury. Was sent out to Mallorca on loan, where he had another serious injury, came back, was sent to Fortuna Düsseldorf, couldn't really regain his old self, couldn't really make a case for the starting lineup this season, even though there's Ole Kreapchuk, who's not exactly Olympiakos' greatest ever left back. And now he's left for Pogon, where he's going to continue his career there. So Leonardo Koutris is no longer part of Olympiakos.
Yeah, and we wish him all the best in this new endeavor. I believe he signed a 3.5-year contract.
That's what I have. Yeah, 3.5 years.
3.5-year contracts with Pogon.
Pogon.
I mean, he's one of those players. He was unlucky with injuries. He then fell on Costa Tsimikas, who got into the starting lineup and made that position his. He was loaned out to Mallorca, got injured at Mallorca, that ACL injury. And I think it's been a decline since then. I think that he perhaps could have done a job as a depth option, but he never really got the opportunity. He got one start, I think it was under Corberan in a match against Pasianina at home. Didn't look too bad, but we never saw him again. So it's the best for him to, take it somewhere else. And sincerely, Leonardo Koutris, thank you for the memories. In particular, the mind goes to that picture of him at the AC Milan game, kind of, in tears, the emotions running high, and that dramatic win that took Olympiakos through to the next round in Pedro Martins' first season.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the news for Leonardo Koutris. There was also some news about Gonzalo Avila, that there was potentially a club, I think again from Poland, looking at him. I don't know how much truth there is to this. We've heard a lot of things being said about Gonzalo Avila in the past week or so. He hasn't traveled to Spain.
Yeah.
And on the inbound front, there have been some rumors about a striker coming in. There was Fortuna Düsseldorf, Polish striker, that was in the papers the other day. Today, Ross Stewart from Sunderland has been mentioned. I'm personally not paying too much mind to all of this transfer stuff. I don't know, Costa, if you've got anything fresh or anything noteworthy on your end, inbound-wise.
Well, I mean, first off, the outbound, a little bit about Gonzalo Avila, is that the fact that he didn't join Olympiakos in the mid-season training or warm weather camp, if you want to call it, it doesn't look like he's especially part of Mitchell's plans. Probably fell out of favor. I wouldn't be surprised if it was that Panathinaikos game that did it for him. I know there's a lot of opinions about that penalty, but still, I mean, that move at this time, the fact that the ball was going out for a free throw. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was telling him, like, if that Doctor Strange fella from the Avengers, sat down and looked into all the universes in which Ioannidis gets to the ball before it goes out for a free throw, he wouldn't find a single universe. Like, Avila could have just sat there with his thumb up his ass and the ball would have still gone out for a free throw. But anyway, I think that's the game that really did it for him. I don't think Avila is part of Mitchell's plans in any capacity, which is why Rodney is coming to Olympiakos from Flamengo. Rumors suggesting that he signed a 3.5-year deal with Olympiakos as well as a free agent, left Flamengo. And it looks like he's coming to become the starting right back, especially after Sime Vrsaliko left. Create some questions. Who's going to be his backup? Maybe Marius Vrsaljko, because he had 2 assists already in Spain, Marbella, if I'm not mistaken, they're at. Yeah. So yeah, I know about Rodney's coming to Olympiakos. Other than that, yes, I've heard the rumors about a striker. But based on what we're seeing right now in Spain, maybe a center back is in order as well. We'll get to more. We'll get to more in a minute.
Yeah. So I think that's the perfect moment to kind of transition into the game today against Stardal Liège. It was a special one as well because you had Philip Zinckernagel on the opposing team, and I think for me in particular, I was anticipating this game not just for that, but I think that gave it that kind of extra something interesting to watch, see how Zinckernagel does against his teammates. He's obviously out there on loan until the end of the season. Anything can happen. He played in the second half, but we can get to that. Let's take things one step at a time. We played we played Huddersfield the other day in a comfortable win, and today was really playing against a much better team. Huddersfield are lying bottom of the English Championship, and we were playing a team today, Stardal Liège, who are 6th in Belgium. They've had some big wins. They've been a bit up and down, a bit inconsistent, but it was a very physical, very fast-paced, friendly game today. And I think it's important that we had that sort of test against a physical team, an athletic team. We've struggled against those kinds of teams, not just this season in general. And Mitchell took a different approach today. He set up the team in a 4-3-3 with Oleg Grabchuk returning at left back, Mario Vrsaljko getting the nod at right back, and the centre-back pairing remaining unchanged. So Andreas Doi and Panagiotis Retsos. Paschalakis came in goal. He didn't play in the last game. And then he tried a midfield trio of Paitim Kasami, Yanem Villa, and Agibu Kamara, who started a second match in succession. And then he played no striker up front. He played Pep Biel as a false 9, Gary Rodriguez on the right, and Yorgos Masouras on the left. So immediately...
He probably watches Gate 7 International, Mitchell.
Because of the false 9?
Yeah, by playing Pep Biel as a false 9.
Honestly, Costa, it was another one of those interesting things to watch in the first half today, how Biel does as a false 9, because we've never seen him play as a false 9 at Olympiakos, and finally he had the opportunity today. It's a friendly match. It's an opportunity for the coach to experiment, try new things. But honestly, there was just a distinct lack of creativity in the side in the first half. And yes, we were playing against a much better team than Huddersfield, but there was no build-up from the wing-backs. Masouras got into some good positions, didn't finish. He had a few shots. Gary Rodriguez had a shot on goal, but ideally you want to see Pep Biel play with Fortounis, play with James, play a false 9 when he's playing with the starting players. So the first half for me was a bit drab. I don't know. I don't know. When you have players like Yanem Villa and Paitim Kasami, they're both quite heavy. They're not the fastest. So if we don't succeed in the press, which I think that was what we tried to do in the first half. We had fast players up the top of the pitch, and Agibu Kamara playing a little bit in front of Villa and Kasami, trying to steal the ball. Did quite well at that, like stealing the ball high up the pitch and trying to create situations and from forced errors from the opposition. But do you think we're ever going to see that? Kasami and Mvila with Juan possibly? Like, what's your take on that?
I was reading it at Sport 24 today that apparently this might be the plan of having a 4-3-3 with Kasami, Juan, and Mvila in midfield. We were talking before the show that Olympiakos already have two players that are on their way back from the World Cup, and those are Pierre Koundé and Bakaμπου after Cameroon and Senegal were eliminated. Senegal were eliminated today after losing to England. And also the Hwangs might be on their way back. It's coming home, yes. The Hwangs might be coming as well tomorrow night or the next morning because they're playing Brazil, unless they pull off, another giant slaying kind of performance, which is good for Olympiakos. It's good to have the players back without a lot of fatigue, without any injuries as well. Although Inbom still has time to get injured, hopefully not. So that's something that is being discussed right there. As for the rest, really, the thing about Mitsel right now is that he's not looking to win any friendly matches. He's just trying to improve performances. He wants to, and more importantly, he wants to improve on fitness. Those are the two priorities Mitsel has right now. Other than that, he has so many players. He needs to find what works in midfield, what works in attack, what works in defense. What are the pairs that work? Right now, there are problems in defense, and Stadar exposed them. Poor positioning and poor marking that led to Stadar's 3 goals. Another issue that still remains with Olympiakos is that they keep conceding late. Stadar scored their final goal in the 90th minute. So that still remains that little problem right there. And in my opinion, the biggest problem Olympiakos have right now is mentality and confidence. There's an intense England-like feeling at Olympiakos right now, where it seems like they don't believe they can pull off a big victory, like something's going to go wrong like it always does, kind of thing. That's how Olympiakos remind me of England right now. So that's something that needs to be fixed. I'm not going to lie to you, Costa. Like, it really feels to me that victory over Huddersfield, Olympiakos that's the first time Olympiakos beat a significant opponent since last season, really, isn't it? Within 90 minutes.
Would you call Huddersfield a significant opponent, though? Because
they're better than Ionikos, they're better than Lamia.
Yeah, okay, but they're not significant opponents. But my point is, I heard a lot of the chatter after the game. It's like, Olympiakos played well. Yeah, we played well, and you can say that we've failed to put in a performance like the one against Huddersfield, against the minnows in the Greek league, and we created opportunities, and that game could have been 5-0. Bacambu should have had a hat trick, and Fortunis assists to go with it. But I think one might say is the Huddersfield game kind of papering over cracks. My immediate reaction to the Huddersfield game was that we shouldn't read into it too much. We're going to see where we're at today against a team like Stαντάρ Λιέγη, which is a good team playing in a very competitive league, as is the Belgian league. And like I said, the first half for me was very experimental, and the second half was closer to what I think we're going to see moving forward. We saw 3 goals in the second half, Costa. I haven't seen 3 goals in I don't know how long. An Olympiakos team scoring 3 goals, and it could have been more. Again, Bakaμπου missed a couple of opportunities.
We missed a lot of opportunities, and he did the same with Huddersfield. That's a bit worrying, right there.
At least one of them he put away today. There was another one. Fortunis set him up after a really nice exchange down the left-hand side, cut back from Costa, and then he was in front of the goal, side-footed it. Keeper made a good save, to be honest. But again, you worry about him not being clinical enough. And then you've got El Aраμπί. El Aраμπί he got a couple of goals today. In terms of the defense, because I've heard a lot of the criticism in the first half, to be honest with you, like the Doi Retsos partnership for me is something I would like to see more.
Yeah,
And we've got the We've got the game against Forest, another friendly. Then we play Atromitos in the cup on the 15th, and then speaking of Forest fans, Doron Tor is asking when are we going to do our preview.
Soon.
Let's get on the DMs door. We can sort that out and we can do a little preview. Let's see if any of us actually end up going to Athens for that. Game.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no, maybe a surprise. Maybe a surprise coming.
Yeah,
but we'll get in touch with you about doing a preview. The first goal, Costa, was in the first half. It was from Davida, the young Israeli, I think it was, down the right-hand side. He got the ball on Oleg's side. He skipped past Kasami, and then he bended the shot around Retsos and into the corner. Keeper could do nothing. But
he could have died. He could have lunged.
I mean, do you remember the goal Joel Campbell scored against United? Of course you do.
Yes.
You remember Rio Ferdinand like turning like this and trying to block the ball. Retsos did exactly the same thing today, and the ball just went round him and into the corner. Keeper couldn't do anything for me. He could dive, but he's not getting to that.
Maybe he was surprised. Maybe he didn't expect the shot. I'll accept that.
The defender was also kind of like in front of his line of vision, and the ball was bended perfectly into the other corner. So that's 1-0. Second half for me, first of all, this gentleman, Andreas Doi, goes off injured. Just to let everyone know, don't freak out because it looks like Andreas Doi is okay. Nothing serious. The injury was like a knock to the knee, and him coming off was more of a precaution. And speaking of legendary centre-backs, who's the man on the right there? Before I ask, I mean, Costa knows who it is. Anybody in the comments? Who's that on the right-hand side? That is none other than... Who is it, Costa?
Well, that is... Either the best or the second best center back Olympiakos ever had. It is between this guy, I said his name already, and Martin Novoselac, who's very old school. Martin Novoselac was what Olof Mellberg, this gentleman over there, was to our generation. An incredible defender, an absolute luxury Olympiakos had at center back, a Swedish legend, former Juventus player, Aston Villa legend. One of the best defenders of all time, and hopefully some energy was passed in that gesture over there, in that high five over there, that handshake. I mean,
that's a very nice picture there. Avram Papadopoulos and Mellberg, that duo was fantastic. One of the best that I've seen at Olympiakos. Maybe the best, some will argue. Let's not get into that. I think we've had that conversation on this.
That was the best centre back pairing in Olympiakos history. Avram Papadopoulos and Olof Mellberg.
You know what? Rafik Djibor did an interview with Sport 24. I've been listening to it bits and pieces, and they asked him like who is his favorite teammate at Olympiakos. Guess who it was?
I didn't watch the interview.
Guess. Who do you think he said?
Rafik Djibor, favorite teammate of all time.
Yeah. At Olympiakos, like his favorite Olympiakos teammate.
I was going to say Jamel Abdoun, but something tells me this is a bit of a trick question. So you know what? I'm going to say Avram Papadopoulos.
Yeah, well, he's in the picture. So he said Avram. Avram Papadopoulos was his favorite teammate. He said because of the fighting spirit, the mentality, the way he was, is like he felt like he was somebody that he wanted to take into battle with him. He said that about Avram Papadopoulos, and I'm just bringing that up because his mug is in the picture there. So yeah, no, nice to see Olaf Mellberg dropping in to check out his old team. What a fantastic play. Yeah, we would love to have a centre-back like that. What we wouldn't give to have a centre-back like that at our club right now. Moving on. Second half was much better, Costa. like I said, 3 goals in the second half, some changes. But just to wrap up on the defense before I forget, the defense was Kalogeropoulos and Mvila. That was the second. That was the centre back pairing,
which we're never going to see again in this.
Exactly. Like when are we ever going to see that centre back pairing ever again? It's like a lot of the emphasis has been on the leaking the goals in the second half and the defense, and it's worrying. And yes, you don't like to concede 3 goals. You don't like to concede a last minute goal. Both goals, the striker Ohio, he got in front of both Kalogeropoulos and another. I think it was bloody hell, who was it? Vrusai. He got in front of them for the second goal, and then the third goal again is just striker's goal, one touch, 3-3 right at the death. You don't like to see that, but realistically, it's something we're never going to see again. So I'm a little less worried about that, because I think you see Socrates and Doi, you see Socrates and Retsos. Incidentally, I thought, what do you think of Retsos? I know, like, you and I both like him. Like, we remember what he was before we sold him, the prospect of how good he could be. Like, what do you think? Do you think that we can get the best out of Retsos?
I do hope so. I do believe Olympiakos have what it takes to bring him back to at least close to the player that he was before he left for Bayer Leverkusen. In a way, maybe Retsos was the kind of player that was rushed a little too much as well. I remember when he started Olympiakos in the same season, he was named captain. That was a strange decision. He actually played a game as captain. Yeah, under Bento. That was really strange, bringing in the 17, 18-year-old on his first season, and all of a sudden he's a captain. What? Jesus, really? But then again, that was a strange squad. He's had a lot of injuries, that kid. He's been very unlucky. So I'm not too sure where he is exactly right now physically, because he also had an injury with Olympiakos now on his return. I'm not too sure where he is at mentally, but it would make a lot more sense to build on the Retsos and Doi than to continue with Papastathopoulos and Doi. Although, this season is very strange, so maybe just finish this season with Papastathopoulos and Doi because it works. But when it comes to next season, make a lot more sense to have to build on Retsos and Doi. Kalogeropoulos is too young and too inexperienced still, although he played really well against Nantes at the Karaiskaki Stadium. Just a little bit of that same, of the Matthijs de Ligt character I saw in Kalogeropoulos. That guy who acted like he was a lot more experienced than his age. Just a little bit, tiny little bit. I'm not comparing him to Matthijs de Ligt. He just reminded me a little bit of de Ligt. So yeah, I mean, if that doesn't work, I could definitely see Olympiakos going for a center back this summer. They did go for Denayer last summer, and that didn't work out. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go for one in January. It would make a lot of sense, because there is a problem in defense right now. Olympiakos are quite solid from midfield onwards, especially in attack. A lot of options for the number 10 and the number 9 role, problems in the wings. So I wouldn't be surprised if a center back comes in.
Yeah, I think that signing a centre back is contingent on what happens with Cisse. In basic English, I think if we sell Cisse, I think we'll sign a centre back. If we don't sell Cisse, I'm not so sure. But we're not even into the official transfer window yet. The transfer window officially opens January 1st. So let's see what happens. Lagis Gavalas is asking us about Kalogeropoulos. What do we see in him? What potential? I think Costa, you gave your opinion. For me, I'm not. I still think he lacks a lot of experience. I think the best thing for him is to be loaned out to a club where he's guaranteed playing time, preferably abroad. Why not even Holland, second division Germany, even just to play and man up and gain experience and become more professional. I think he had a good game against Nantes too. I think
very good game.
He has like this kind of confidence, like that is beyond his years, I would say.
Matthijs de Ligt effect, the Matthijs de Ligt characteristic.
Like, he was 16 when he made his debut with Pedro Martins. I'm just checking how old he is. He's 18.
Yeah.
He's 18. Playing Olympiakos, playing centre back at Olympiakos can be complicated too. You have to play a high line. It's not the easiest job in the world. Let's see. It's still very early. I think Costa and I both agree that it's a player that needs to go out on loan.
Yeah, a lot of youngsters. I mean, me and Marcelo talked about it a while back. Like Jolike is another player who needs to go out on loan, definitely, and start.
Yeah,
definitely.
No, he didn't play today. He played the second half against Huddersfield. But going back to the game today, second half was very nice to watch. In my opinion, the manager made quite a few changes, and in particular, I thought Mario Vrusai upped his game in the second half. In the first half, I thought both wing backs were. Vrusai, I barely noticed him in the first half, to be honest. And Oleg was Oleg. Neither hot nor cold. But then second half, Mario Vrusai makes a fantastic, great feat down the right-hand side, beats 2-3 defenders, puts in a nice cross for El Aраμπί, who gets the equalizer, I think it was, and hello, Costa's cat, for those of you that can see Costa's cat's tuning in live. Hello, Costa's cat. But anyway, and Vrusai could have had 2 assists today. There was another one down the right-hand side where he played a low cross into El Aраμπί. It was just an inch in front of him. The keeper got to it, but that's 2 games and 2 assists from Mario Vrusai.
Yes.
Who I think has pipped Thanasis Androutsos
twice. Oh, yes, sir.
No, he's pipped Thanasis Androutsos to that spot on the right-hand side. We'd been reading that he's overtaken him in the manager's mind, and I think we saw why today. Who else caught the eye? Now, I have asked the question in the poll, who caught your eye the most during mid-season tour in Spain? We have to talk about Marcelo today, don't we?
I thought he was a goner. I honestly thought he was a goner. Well, he's been playing more. He played for almost an hour against Huddersfield. He played for just over 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, against Standár Liège. Played as a left back. In mid-season, he's playing as a left back, whereas during the first half of the season, he played more of like a weird central midfielder, more of a number 6. Very good in attack. Problems on his defending, though. He produced 2 assists today. Really good game by Marcelo. Obviously, his confidence is sky high now. He's in a very good mood because his son Enzo signed his first contract with Real Madrid at the age of 13. This is his second chance. He is getting what he needed, which was a preseason with Olympiakos. I feel there is a sense of they want to give him the chance. There is a sense that they want to see what he can do if he regains his confidence. It's obvious that he has an influence backstage in the sense that people look up to him, like his word means something. What he says means something. He can be kind of a motivator as well. Definitely, he could be a focal point at least, backstage, to help lift spirits because of his success with Real. Yeah, some really good performances. But like I said, he was good moving forward, not that good at the back. And if I'm not mistaken, at some point Fortounis played at the left, and that was a pretty good partnership, wasn't it, Costa? In a sense, that it'd be much better to have Marcelo and Kostas Fortounis, a non-winger, playing on the wings for the second half of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think somebody tweeted at me about this. I tweeted, I think, into the second half, how much of a difference it was in the second half. Night and day, Marcelo and Fortounis on the left-hand side compared to Oleg and Yorgos Masouras, like we were lacking creativity in the first half, but then the second half you had James on the pitch, you had Marcelo on the pitch, you had Fortounis on the pitch, you had Bacabou and El Aраμπί, and the ball movement in the second half was really a joy to watch. The second and the third goal, they're well worked moves. Organomenes epithesis in Greek. The third goal, it started on the right hand side. I think Vrusai had the ball. It's gone out to Bouchalakis. Bouchalakis has open space in front of him, and you're thinking for a moment he's got space to shoot, and then he knocks it out wide to Marcelo. Marcelo puts in a cross on a silver platter for El Aраμπί, and El Aраμπί gets a header and he puts it into the corner, and it's a beautiful goal. And the second goal too is a through ball from James Rodriguez that finds its way to Marcelo and then into Bacabou. Lovely, like really nice football that we haven't seen. And defensively, yeah, he doesn't have the pace to get back, to track or keep up with the faster players, but at this age anyway, he has to play with his head. He has to play with his experience and use his experience to make up for the lack of pace. You hope that he improves his fitness via this process, this mid-season camp in Spain, and the friendly against Forest. He played 60 minutes against Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Marcelo. And then he got that knock and he came off. And today he's had 35 minutes on the pitch. Yes, he's going to have problems against classier opponents, like wingers that have pace, that run at defenders. Standard had a couple of those today. Honestly, I don't think there were situations today one-on-one where he got exposed. The problem is just when we're in transition and he's high up the pitch, he can't get back. That's why you need a player like Samaseko, someone that can sweep up and come from the midfield and slot into that left hole. When he goes forward, you've got to make sure someone's there and giving some protection to the team. So I think it's a tactical question, because what Marcelo brings to the team in the final third above the halfway line is night and day. Isn't even the right expression when you compare to Oleg. Is really just what are we talking about here? It's Marcelo we're talking about. His class and his quality is undeniable when he's on the ball, like when he needs to play a one-touch pass, or just the accuracy. The amount of times we've seen him play a cross-field ball, a diagonal 35-yard ball to feet or like into the right space for the winger to run into. We saw that the only time he played in Greece as a left-back was against Lamia. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sounds about right. Yeah, sounds about right.
The only game that he played as a left-back, he came on as a sub. And you're right, Costa. Every other time he came on, they tried to protect him. Like he was playing
number 6, number 8, kind of weird role. Yeah,
like centre mid or like out on the left, but not really on the left. And it was weird. It's like we bought him to play left back. I think what we've seen from him in pre-season is positive. Definitely one of the positive. Sorry, not pre-season, mid-season.
Yeah.
What we've seen is positive from him. I have to say that after the Panathinaikos thing, where he wrote on socials that, I'm fit and blah, 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 I don't know why I haven't been picked, I thought he was done.
Yeah, me too.
I thought he was done. But it would be such a communications nightmare for Olympiakos if Marcelo would be a flop.
Yeah.
That they've given him this opportunity to show in Spain that he has something to give. And I mean, he's done it today against a good team. Like Stαντάρ has good players, like fast players. He did well. He can play a role. Again, in Greece, in the Greek league. Come on. has to play. We've had problems creating. Our XG is so low. Like, we don't have Ari on the show, but like, what's our average XG must be below 1.5. Like, we'll ask Ari to give us those numbers, but you need a player like Marcelo. You need a player like Marcelo. I'm gonna go to the comments to see what have we got here. Are people chiming in?
But I couldn't agree more with you on Marcelo. Like, this is a player that it has to work. It would be a communication nightmare if this guy becomes a flop. If this guy becomes a flop, that we're talking Dimitar Berbatov, Michael Essien type of flop right here. If this guy doesn't work out, and like you said, like, yeah, absolutely, he showed a lot of promise with Stardar, a decent team, Stardar. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a guy that could really do something in Greece. So yeah, Marcelo definitely. What's Marcelo definitely what? We believe in him. That means we believe in him.
I think what Look at My Eyes DC is saying is one of the better players that we've seen during preseason.
Okay, yeah, agreed with that.
Yeah, Olympiakos social media keep upload stuff with Marcelo, and after this game, I doubt he leaves.
Yeah,
me too. I think after today's performance as well, and I think he'll play against Forest too. That will be a good test. That will be a good test against Forest.
That'll be something. Absolutely, that will be something.
Yeah. Like Valaz with a comment, the whole defense has to move left to fill Marcelo's gap, and the midfielder has to slot in the right back space. It depends what side of the pitch the ball's on, mate, or where the ball's moving. So yeah, it could be the midfielder has to slot in on the left or on the right. Either way, if you play with two centre midfielders that are holding, and one can slot in on one side, the other on the other, depending on the situation during the game. So yeah, I think we've talked a lot about Marcelo, and it merited discussion because there was talk about him potentially leaving, like Sime Vertalco. But I think after today, it's safe to say Marcelo is going to be staying at the club. Don't forget, this is a player that signed a 1+1 contract, so he has a contract until the end of the year with the option to extend it for another year. I think I'm clear. I think in the Greek league we have to see more from him, and I think we will see more. This is a challenging question we've received from Yorgos Chalkias. We'll address that in a minute. Before we do that, again, guys, if you're tuning in for the first time, we're Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiakos. Don't forget to hit the like button, give us a thumbs up if you like what you're hearing, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future episodes about our favorite team. Let me go back to that question. So Yorgos Chalkias wants us to pick a starting lineup for after the World Cup. That's a challenging one.
That's very challenging.
Are we ready to do that now, or do you want to?
I'm ready. I can answer this question with what I think I'm going to see and what I want to see.
Yeah.
What I think we're going to see. I'm kind of thinking of a 4-2-3-1 type of thing. I think he's going to insist on the 4-2-3-1. Paschalakis in goal, Rodney on the right, and Oleg on the left because life sucks and then you die. Center back, Papastathopoulos and Doi. Midfield, and Villa with Hwang. And then we got the wings. He's going to go with something like Biel definitely on the wing because apparently it works, which it doesn't. Masouras on the other side. Biel behind Bacambu. What I would like to see would be a 4-2-3-1. I'm okay with either Paschalakis or Vatslik when he comes back, so let's keep Paschalakis in there. Rodney on the right, Leitner on the left. Papastathopoulos and Doi because it works. That's the center-back pairing that works. Hwang and then Villa in midfield. On the right, I would have Bowler. On the other side, I would have James. And Biel behind Bacambu. That would be my lineup.
Okay. Well, for me,
I'm not confident.
look, the first 7 games that we have are games that we should be winning. This has been commented on the radio as well. We don't have a big derby game for the first 7. The first 7 are games that normally Olympiakos makes a run and gets 7 wins. And if you can get 7 wins, things can change. I think Panathinaikos is playing Aris home or away. I think they've got 2 tough games in the first 7 that we have. They play AEK. I think they play Aris.
Well,
so I think if you're looking to play teams that are, teams we should be beating comfortably, you put out an attacking lineup.
Yeah.
So for me, my starting lineup is Paskalakis in goal. I think Rodinei on the right, even though I've never seen him play. I think he's coming as
a starter.
Yeah, but he won't play until January.
Yeah.
So he won't play two league games. He won't play in the cup. He'll miss 3 games. There are 3 official games before January. So Vrusai will play as the starting right back.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be Vrusai, yeah.
For me. And then I think Andreas Doi definitely has one of the shirts of the starting 11, and then it's between Retsos and Sokratis. Sokratis is a rhythm player. He needs to be fully fit. I think if Retsos puts in a good performance against Forest, Retsos has a good chance of starting. On the left, I'm going to say Marcelo. If Marcelo's fit...
That's something I never thought I would ever hear you say, ever.
If Marcelo's fit, he plays. For me, he plays. I'm so done with Oleg Ryabchuk. The guy's a survivor, but I'm so done. I had that feeling today in the game against Liège. It's like we don't have any build-up from our wing-backs. And against Huddersfield, we had that. There was build-up from the wings. And you're playing against lower, you have to play him. It's funny. Is it a U-turn from my part? I've been quite cautious, I never said this was going to be an amazing transfer. We had our doubts about, he's older, he's not in good physical condition. But based on what we've seen today in the last game, he has to play. I play him. He starts.
My biggest disappointment with Marcelo, one thing I was really hoping with the Marcelo transfer would be that Oleg would finally up his game. Oleg would finally understand that if I don't play well, I'm not going to play in this team. If, no matter what happens, I'm not playing in this team. It never happened. I was hoping that this would be the moment a fire lights under his ass and he would finally start getting things right. Didn't happen.
You know what you're going to get from him. And I think it's limit up. Limit up for Oleg. Him and Yorgos Masouras. I don't think they can improve anymore at Olympiakos. There's nothing more that they have to show me. I think they're both at their, they've reached their peak and they're either at the peak or they're in decline. I think we should have sold Yorgos Masouras this summer. He hasn't scored a goal since September against Aris. Okay, back to my starting 11. Juan Envila, yes. James Rodriguez, yes. Kostas Fortounis for me. Kostas Fortounis, for me, is a starter.
Which position?
On one of the wings.
Yeah.
But we saw today and we saw against Huddersfield, I think against Huddersfield, he had the creativity, he was interlinking with Biel. He had a really good relationship with Biel in the first game. Today, he was on the pitch when Biel came off. James looked a bit stiff today.
Yeah.
He played a nice ball in for the second goal, but he looked a bit stiff. Costa, for me, has been not the apocalypse of the mid-season tour.
Not the revelation.
Yeah, but he's been the one that has exceeded my expectation, or was like, wow, Costa looks in really good shape. And we've asked fans to vote who's caught your eye the most during mid-season tour in Spain. Options: Fortunis, Casami, Marcelo. Are there? 48% of you have voted Fortunis, 22% so far Casami, 26% of you Marcelo. So I think it's the majority is with Fortunis there. He looks in really good shape, man. Like, what do you think from what you've seen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially his goal against Huddersfield. Absolutely beautiful shot. Really rolling back the years there. I mean, I said it when I came out with Marcelo, we did a little bit of a keep sell loan kind of thing.
Yeah.
We did agree that it's time to go for Fortunis because the way I said it is like keeping Fortunis is like living with your ex. But the thing is that he is showing something in this mid-season tour. He is very active. He's in very good shape. Some really good movement, beautiful passing, clinical shots. Maybe there is something there. Maybe he could play in a situation of a 4-3-3. Maybe him and BL behind Bacambu, or him and James behind Bacambu, something like this. Maybe even in the mid, maybe a midfield trio with him and Vila and Huang. And Vila as the 6, Huang as the 8, him as the 10 kind of thing. There is something there. There is something happening there. And like we said, the thing about what Mitchell is doing right now, he's not looking to win friendlies. He's looking to improve the performances, see what works, see what pairing works, see what kind of chemistry he can create, and improve on fitness, on personal fitness. Yeah, absolutely something there with Kostas Fortounis. I don't expect to see him at his best from back in the day. But you know what? The way things are in Greece, you have nothing else to lose anymore. You can just go ahead and give him the opportunity.
For me, he looks in really good shape. And I say it because Gary Rodriguez, on the one hand, is, you could argue, the best out-and-out winger that we have. There's something to be said about Josh Bowler, who we didn't see today, but he's a lone player. He doesn't belong to Olympiakos. We all know what Gary's fault is. Gary's fault, or Gary's issue, is he's made of glass. And he's a rhythm player. If he plays 2, 3, 4 games in a row, if he picks up rhythm, and he's dangerous. He is the dangerous player. But then he gets injured. And he's just not a reliable option.
Yeah, but also he doesn't have the final pass though. Every time I see him trying to create a cross, he always hits a defender. The first defender that's in front of him.
Fortounis could have had at least 4 assists in the last 2 games. And they were all for Bacambu, by the way.
Yeah, but Bacambu has been having a bit of a disappointing few performances. He's missed a lot of important opportunities. Absolutely. But El Arabi,
sorry, he got one, but it was 1 out of 3. It was 1 in 3.
But speaking about players who have, really improved, El Arabi, 3 goals in 2 matches right now. He couldn't get one from 1 yard, man, during the first half of the season. Now here he is, scoring 3 goals in 2 matches. There's another player that's exceeding expectations right now. Just when you thought he's done.
Exceeding expectations is interesting wording for it when he's getting paid.
The way I mean it is people thought that he was done. Just a very quick one. I want to make a very quick point on this one. No Masouras. That's why Kostas with a C is better than Kostas with a K. The thing about Masouras is that what I said is, you asked me, I was asked, which is the lineup I think we're going to see? Which is the lineup I would like? In my lineup, Masouras wasn't in there. It was Bowler and James on the wings. The lineup I think we're going to see includes Masouras, because I feel like Mitchell is kind of has a few players he doesn't want to remove from the team. That's why I picked Masouras. Moving on.
Just to clarify, also, I'm more talking about what I would like to see. I agree with you. What we would like to see as fans is, it's very hard to be in the manager's head. Masouras is one of those players, like it or not, all managers like him because his work rate, because the thing he's good at. I just, like I said earlier, I think he's a player that, you know, there was a question in the chat, who I think again from Yorgos Kalkias, about the players that we think are done, like that need to move on.
We had an episode. About that.
We did do a keep loan sell episode.
Yeah.
Go back, you can go back and watch that. I already said my opinion on Masouras. I think he's one to go, but I don't think he will go this window. I think it will be a discussion again in the summer. Bouchalakis,
he has that Lucas Vidra thing. Probably he's probably the kind of player that trains really, really well, and they keep him. Like the thing about Lucas Vidra from Panathinaikos, that he trained really, really well in training. He was unbelievable, but when it came to the game, he just wasn't good enough. I think with Masouras, that's the kind of thing. Like, he trains really, really well, probably, but when it comes to the game, he's not as good as he is in training. He's not like Vidra, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, a player that trains really, really well, but when it comes to the big thing, the big game, he doesn't really show.
Yeah. Just on this question again from Yorgo, Kunde, will a bid come in? Cisse, I think those are both players that Kunde hasn't been a good match for Olympiakos. I think it's best for both parties if he leaves. It's good for him, good for the club. We'll get some money in the coffers. Perhaps Cisse, as much as I love him, I think it's time for him to go. I think, again, one of those that's, you know, win-win for both parties.
He has to be sold. He has to be sold. He's the kind of player that needs to be sold yesterday.
Yeah. What else?
He didn't play in the World Cup except for the first game against the Netherlands, so I'm not too sure how far high his stock is right now.
Yeah. Nolan Linda Fox asks, what's up with Leidner? Okay, so Leidner played 35 minutes in the first game, the first friendly against Huddersfield. Is essentially the first time he plays with the first team, that 35 minutes. He's never played with the first team before. Never.
Yeah.
Didn't show much, but it's hard. It's hard for young left back, and there's been a lot said that he's very good going forward. I mean, we've done a deep dive on him. You can go back and watch that. One of the playlists we have, the scout reports that Ari does, fantastic. Go and check that out. We know this is a player that has good attacking ability going forward. He can cross the ball pretty well from what we've seen. Some of the talk has been about his defensive frailties, but in all honesty, like let's flip that on its head. Oleg is known for his defensive traits and less for his offensive.
Yeah.
So what? It's okay to say that Doron Leidner is good attacking, but he's not as good defending. But then what about Oleg? Is he great going forward and great at defending? No. The only way a player improves is a little bit training, personal, team training, but the most improvement is gained via match experience. That's what Leidner doesn't have. There's been talk about a loan move, potentially.
Yeah.
If it looks like Marcelo is keeping down a spot, then maybe that's the best thing for him, is to go out on loan, because he needs to be playing.
It's strange though, because neither Corberan or Mitchell were. Neither Corberan was keen on him. Mitchell is not keen on him as well. And
where does this come from? Mitchell's not keen on him. When did he see him? When did he see him? When did he play?
He had him in training, man.
Yeah, but when you play 2 games a week, you don't have time to experiment. That's one thing I'll give Mitchell. So when he came in, I'm not going to start experimenting. Who's my left back? Oleg. I don't fuck around with the defense.
Well, he did give Doi opportunities. That's a bit of an experiment, isn't it?
Yeah, but the situation at centre back was screwed and needed some kind of fix. And Doyle was lucky in that we had a lot of injuries at the back, and he came in that game. And yes, it was a gamble. He stuck with him, but on the left you had a constant. You had a constant at left back, and the other
problematic constant still though. A very problematic constant though still on the left
for fans. I don't know. There's something inside me that says Mitchell sees we have an issue at left back, because I don't know, like the amount of like misplaced passes or just how poor Oleg can be in build up. Mm-hmm. And I know Mitchell puts an emphasis on this in having good build up from the back. I don't think his position is as certain. That's why my mind goes to Marcelo. I don't know what it is with Leidner. Like he hasn't played Costa. I haven't seen him play.
I got a question for you. If Marcelo regains a third of what he was, I don't know, 2 years ago at Real, would you be happy with him at Olympiakos? Do you think he'd be a focal point at Olympiakos?
I think he was a focal point today.
A third.
I thought today he was a focal point. I mean, he made 2 assists. Just the way.
I see what you mean. I try not to get carried away by friendlies, though. I try not to get too high or too low.
The intensity that Stαντάρ Λιέγη were playing with today in a friendly, it was a physical game. It was fast. It was up and down. There were fouls. Stαντάρ could have had a player sent off, but the referee closed his eyes. Like Bacαμπου was through on goal, got pulled down, and no red, no foul even. It was a physical game.
No, I absolutely hear you. But like I said, I try not to get too high or too low, because friendlies are completely different. The atmosphere, the mentality, the pressure, the rhythm is something different.
Marcelo can't play against the Olympiakos, against Pasianina, against Lamia, against Xanthi. Fuck. Come on,
you're kind of stuck in 2020. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
And make a difference.
Like I said, all I'm saying is I'm trying not to get too high, too low, and I advise the fans the same thing. Like, yeah, he did play really well, but we need a constant there. I try not to get carried away with friendlies. And that's what Mitchell is doing as well.
Yeah. Jorg was saying, honestly, guys, I'm done with Masuras and Gary. So disappointing. Their final pass is just dreadful. It's night and day, man. When Fortounis is on the ball on the left-hand side, like, you know he has the quality to play the final ball. Masuras is frustrating. Maybe in a different setup, like Masuras will get those chances that he likes on the far post, with a one-touch finish or like a header on the far post. That's how he scores most of his goals. It's like one-touch finishes. And Gary, for me, if you're asking me about players who, I would want to see go, he's one of them. He's just not reliable. Yeah. Not reliable enough. I'm just looking through some of the comments we may have missed, Costa.
Of course. We have a question from Yorgos Halkias. What about Agibu? What's happening with him? I'll get it up for you. I'll get it up right here. There we go.
That's a really good question, and I wanted to talk about him because I think he's got something. I think he's shown a different kind of determination and good attitude in these friendlies too. Like, he's good at pressing, he's good at intercepting, he's good at like recuperating the ball, putting pressure on opponents. Some of his passing today was good. I've been critical about his decision making and his final ball, like, his passing and distribution in the final third. Made some good passes today in the final third. General improvement I've seen in decision making too and execution. I just don't know what this player's best position is, and I don't know if he can fit in this midfield with James
Probably a
Rodriguez.
Probably a number 8. But with Hwang and Envila, not Envila this much, but with Hwang and Kasami probably making a case, that creates problems.
He doesn't get in the team. He doesn't get in the team. Maybe, and Samaseku, by the way, he's I liked what I saw from him today. Like it wasn't like, how to say, it was very subtle, but everything that he did was meaningful. Like it had an impact, whether it was him getting in front of an attacker and making a tackle, putting his body in the way of the opponent to control the ball or recuperate the ball. And he was tidy. He's nothing fancy, just substance and no nonsense. And it was, he's fit, he's fast, he's capable.
He's a really good player, and it's a shame we haven't used him enough. And it's a shame he didn't arrive quickly enough to make the European list. He's a really good player. Like you said, he's very tidy. He's very results based. He does what he must. He gets the job done, and it's a real shame we haven't used him enough. And it'd be a huge shame if we don't use him in the second half of the season, especially in the playoffs, who are poised to be extremely tense, extremely critical this season. These coming playoffs might be the most critical playoffs in Greek football history. 3 teams gunning for the title, maybe 2. I don't know how far Olympiakos will be there. But right now, as it looks, it's going to be really tense. Guy like Samaseku, you need him.
Yeah, well, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. After this season, no more playoffs.
That is if Olympiakos wins the playoffs. Do you believe still? Do you believe Olympiakos can pull it off? You believe it?
Yes.
I'll ask you a question when we're closing the show. I got another question for you, and I'll tell you, and I will retort to what you just said. That's going to be my retort. Okay. What else do we have?
Right. This came up. Is there anything else about the game today? Anything that we may have missed? Guys in the chat, have we missed something about the game? Is there something you'd like to ask us? Drop it in the chat. We'll tackle it.
I think that Nottingham game is going to be very crucial. I think that's going to be a lot of answers. A lot of questions will be answered for both teams, actually, because Nottingham are also looking to hit the ground running. Obviously, Nottingham had a big signing recently, didn't they?
We're going to get to that. So I see that there are more than 35, 40 people in the chat, and there are less than 30 likes. So guys, mash that like button.
Come on, guys. I mean, do you know a better non-Greek Olympiakos channel with this much quality? Come on. We're going to bring you some more players soon, huh? We're going to bring you some more Olympiakos legends, right? So come on, show us some love.
Show some love. It's not like we're asking you for a donation, but if you would like to give us a donation, please, by all means. Why not? It helps the channel. It helps keep us going.
Come on, guys.
Hitting the like button doesn't cost you anything. Anywho, Costa, you alluded to it, and this has been somewhat controversial. Gustavo Scarpa. So Gustavo Scarpa joined Nottingham Forest. Costa, do you want to? I mean, you're following this from the UK side of things, obviously. Like, do you want to weigh in on this before I?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, Gustavo Scarpa appears to have been a player that Vangelis Marinakis, I suppose, was really fond of him, because since the summer we have been hearing a lot of him either joining Olympiakos or joining Nottingham. During the summer, you and I, Costa, we have been hearing from very good sources that he's coming to Olympiakos. But obviously, I mean, Olympiakos have had an insane transfer window. I mean, they changed 3 managers, basically. And they ended up with 4 number 10s. Matteo Valbuena, Kostas Fortounis, James Rodriguez, Pepiel. there was simply no reason to bring Scarpa at Olympiakos. I feel like probably Pedro Martins wanted Scarpa, but then when he left and Pablo and then Corberan replaced him, he wanted different things. And then Mitchell came in, and all of a sudden we ended up with 4 number 10s. Too many cooks that spoiled the broth, basically. So it made more sense for him to go to Nottingham Forest. Scarpa signed a 3.5-year deal that's going to see him earning a total of £5 million. That's 3.5-year deal, almost £5 million. He is very pleased to be at Nottingham Forest. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the move he preferred to have. He's in great spirits, and he's a player that could help them a lot in their relegation battle. But then again, I do have a few questions as to how a number 10 is going to fit at Nottingham Forest formation. Are they going to go for a 4-3-3? Will they go for a 4-2-3-1 to let him play as a number 10? Steve Cooper tried a few things with a number 10 with Jesse Lingard and Morgan Gibbs White. So I'm not too sure what the plan is there, but definitely a player with immense quality. One of the best players in the Brazilian league, if not the best, with Palmeiras. Definitely a very interesting addition. And I feel like there's going to be something there. I feel like we're going to see a lot of quality from him in this coming extremely challenging second half of the Premier League season.
Yeah, I think one of the first things to say about this situation with Scarpa is just that it shows how quickly things can change, or how things change with transfers. And I have to say that from our perspective as Gate 7 International, when we looked into this, it was early July and we were still in with a shot of Champions League football. And the word was that he was gonna be joining Olympiakos in January. Under what statute? Most likely on loan. Yeah, that he would sign for Forest and come to us on loan, but he would be playing with us. And I think, now that's been surfacing in the Greek press that, the deal was about Champions League, or it was about Europe, and now Olympiakos isn't in Europe. So, that any kind of hope of Scarpa coming to Greece dead in the water. Then, of course, there were the comments of the player himself saying that, he spoke to Abel Ferreira, his coach in Brazil, who was also the PAOK coach, who told him, don't go to Greece, especially if they're not playing in European competition. And I think that had a role. And at least Scarpa mentioned that in one of the many interviews where he seemed to be pressing the situation that I want to go to Forest. This is my dream. I want to play in England, etc. We spoke to English sources when we said that back in early July, that Scarpa would be for Olympiakos. We spoke to sources in England that told us there's nothing, like people at Forest know nothing about Scarpa. We talked to a lot of Forest journalists and other multiple sources. They knew nothing about this. And then the news came out of Brazil.
Yeah.
It's a very messy situation. And when you're talking about a kind of situation where there's an owner that owns 2 clubs, you know that there's always a little window for something to happen. Anyway, in the end,
during when the Brazil thing happened, our sources were still insisting he's coming to Olympiakos.
Yeah, because the Europe thing was probably still on the cut. It was technically on the card still.
And it wasn't a lie. The Greek media weren't lying, because that's the source. That's the sources we had as well, and they were insisting it wasn't a lie, guys. It didn't start in May.
Do you know why?
July, June.
Do you know why I think people are pissed with Greek media? Is because the whole apparatus, whenever they were asked about it, they were adamant. That whatever happens on 1st of January, Gustavo Scarpa will play for Olympiakos. But that wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. There was much more to all of this, like the Europe thing. Like, was it guaranteed that we would be playing Europa League or even conference? Nothing's guaranteed. You have to earn these successes. Like, so I think it was the way, the manner at which the journalists were so confident, because they wanted to avoid a comms disaster. I think that's what people are a little bit annoyed over. But to each his own. You made the point, like, things are very fluid in these kinds of transfers. But I can understand how some people may have been annoyed by the mannerisms, or just people being very confident about things that are very fluid and unpredictable, if I can call it that. But I don't know. Have we satisfied the crowds, the fans' appetite on this Scarpa situation? Manos Gate 7 says Scarpa will be begging to come to us in the summer.
Well, if Nottingham get relegated, you never know.
But I mean, he said in one of the interviews he gave, he said even if they get relegated, he'd be prepared to play Championship football. I mean, let's see. But he did make that comment. I mean, you mentioned the other thing, Costa, like, between the first kind of talk about Scarpa, we signed Pep Biel, we signed James Rodriguez, Costas Fortounis is now
still there. He was supposed to leave. He was supposed to be a goner now.
Yeah, he looks in good shape. We mentioned earlier. What else have we got here? Yeah, good question from Nolan. Do you think Scarpa is better than Gibbs White, Brennan Johnson? Don't forget Jesse Lingard. And this is one of the points that I've made a lot, is that, what's his name, the manager? Cooper.
Steve Cooper, yeah.
Steve Cooper runs a tight ship. And he's moved away from that 3-4-1-2 formation that he played last season.
Yeah.
He's been playing 4 at the back, 4-3-3, and hasn't been playing with a striker. Like, Brennan Johnson's been leading the line, sometimes Emmanuel Dennis, sometimes Taiwo Awoniyi.
Yeah, but we haven't been seeing that much of Awoniyi being a regular leading the lineup.
He really hasn't. He really hasn't been like a starter. But Morgan Gibbs-White has been employed as a winger, and so is Jesse Lingard. I think there's been one game Lingard played as a 10, and that was against Liverpool in the Cup, where he played, I think, his best game for Forest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they played with 2 strikers. They played with Sam Surridge and Awoniyi, I think, in that game. But it kind of begs the question, like Nolan says, do you take Brennan Johnson out? It's like a fan favourite, a local boy. Do you take Brennan Johnson out and play Scarpa? Do you take Morgan Gibbs-White, who you paid £45 million for? The one thing Scarpa has that none of those players have is a left foot. He's the only left-footed attacking player that they have. I don't know. Can he adapt to the game that quickly and play in the Premier League? It's a player that won best player of the year in Brazil, I think it was, this season. But can he adapt so quickly as to have an impact? And this is a relegation team, isn't it? It's a team that's struggling to stay in the league. Is Steve Cooper going to take that risk and play this guy immediately and take out a player like Gibbs-White, who they paid $45 million for, or Jesse Lingard, who's one of the highest earning players, even though he's on a 1-year contract? If he doesn't play Lingard, it's like saying, okay, like, you're not staying next year. I don't know. So I want to say it's a gamble for Scarpa as it is for Forest.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with your entire analysis, actually, and I'd just like to point out that yes, Scarpa has joined a club that's fighting to avoid relegation. It's extremely tough to fight for your survival in a top league, and it's even tougher to fight for your survival in the Premier League, which is the toughest league in the world. It's tougher, it's quicker, it's harder, it's more excruciating. There's a lot of factors in this. That there's a fixture congestion, especially now in December, which of course he's not going to play because he's going to start in January. There's the weather. There's the early kickoffs. Like, you have to get up earlier and, actually have lunch before the 12:30 kickoff. It's a lot of factors that he's not used to. But Brennan Johnson and Jesse Lingard are used to these things. They are used to English football. This is a challenge Scarpa has never had before. So it's really difficult to make that to actually compare them right now, to make that comparison right now. So it's really difficult for me to answer, but there's a lot of important factors that are at play right now.
Yeah. In the meantime, guys, we're drawing to a close. Again, don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't done that yet. I've put a new poll in the chat. We touched on this earlier. Do you think that we can win the league? I've asked this question before on this show after the game before the mid-season tour in Spain started. I'll ask it again. Has your mind changed? Do you think that we can win the league? Yes, no. Before we finish tonight's episode, guys, don't forget to give us your answer there, yes or no. Aris Galamatis is saying Skibe, that's the former manager of the Greek national team, played with 3 number 10s, Fortounis, Mandalos, and Pelkas. Yeah, but Greece never really had any natural wingers, you could say. So yeah, we did see that on the Skibe. Could see it at Forest, technically. Gibbs White, Lingard, and Scarpa. Maybe could see that. Do we think
someone just said that Skipe was a failure in the comment section, which is absolutely, in my opinion, it's quite wrong, because we were in a group with Belgium who were nowhere near the shit heel they are right now. They were probably the best international team at the time. They finished 3rd in the 2018 World Cup. Those were the qualifiers for the 2018 World Cup. We finished 2nd behind them and actually picked a point in Brussels. And then we were unlucky to draw Croatia in the playoffs, and we lost to the 2nd best team. So we had the 3rd best team in the world at the time, and then we were eliminated by the 2nd best team. So no, Skibe was not a failure. He was not a shit coach.
No, if I remember well, with Skibe, we got knocked out the playoffs by Croatia, who then got to the final.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we were eliminated. It was the 2018 qualifiers, eliminated in the group stages by Belgium, the 3rd best team, who finished 3rd in the tournament. And then Croatia, who finished 2nd, made the final. Eliminated England.
Yeah.
Red and white. I love that.
So, look at my eyes, DC says, guess who else doesn't have a left-footed attacker? I'm not sure I follow there.
Does he mean us? Does he mean Olympiakos?
We've got Biel, we've got James. Maybe he wants to clarify. Anyway, I think we've reached the end.
I got a question.
Oh yeah, you had a question.
I had a record.
Yeah.
Realistically, what do you want from Olympiakos in the second half of the season? Realistically,
fight for the league.
Fight for the league.
Yeah.
I was a bit more of a pessimist before this. Like, I was thinking, forget everything and finish second. But then I remember a conversation I had with an Olympiakos official, and that is that Gate 7 International is here. Whenever Gate 7 International criticizes Olympiakos, they don't slam Olympiakos. They don't lambast Olympiakos.
You're talking about us?
About us, Gate 7 International. We try to make sure that the bar is always high. Olympiakos are not a Greek team. They're a European team. They have to be what Bayern Munich is in the Bundesliga. It has to be Olympiakos and everyone else. And so the bar needs to be high up. It needs to be a European team. So at first I was thinking to myself, forget about everything, forget the cup, screw it, let Atromitos, throw us out and just finish second because you need the Champions League. But you know what, you're Olympiakos, so you need to go for both. Yeah, you're 12 points behind. I don't think that has ever happened, the team winning the league after not winning a single derby in the first round. I don't think that has ever happened. But you're Olympiakos, go for the cup and go for the league. So that's realistically what I think every Olympiakos fan should be feeling. Go for it. Go for the double. Screw it. Go for it.
I learned this very early on in my professional life, and this is outside football, just as a professional working in my job, one of the people I worked for, she said to me, you've always got to aim for your number one objective. So it's like, I don't know, you're organizing an event and you want to bring someone fancy. It's like the president of this or like the secretary general of that, whatever it is. And you're like, no, maybe I should try a bit lower because those are unrealistic objectives or that's going to be too hard. It's like, no, you always try at the top. And if you don't get it, you get the one underneath.
Yeah.
So the way this season's gone, it's important that we qualify for Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
First and second places go to Champions League. But as you said, this is Olympiakos.
Yeah.
Every season, Olympiakos' objective has to be winning the league, winning the cup.
Yeah.
So the question is, like, do we think it's realistic? Do we think it's doable? Do we think, has something changed in the way that we perceive things or the way we see the team after the performances in Spain that convince us that we can do it? And looking at the answers in the poll, come on, guys, let's get some more votes before we close here. If you haven't voted and you're listening now, get into the votes, give us your vote. Can we win the league? Yes or no? 59%, so 60% say yes, we can. 40% say no right now. I think that's slightly up from when we last asked the question, but ever so slightly. It's a 12-point difference. But I think the league's going to be decided in the playoffs. It's up to us to make a good run. The first 7 games that I mentioned, games we should be winning. And that's really it. That's really what will determine it. If we can get that good run, it will give the confidence to go into the harder games as well. And attacking, I've seen enough this game and last game, honestly. I'm going out on a limb here, but I've seen more from this team from an attacking point of view in today's game and the last game than we've seen all season. From a creative, like, build-up point of view, we have quality players, and it seems like the team is starting to come together. That had to happen at some point. Like, Michel took a team as he wanted. He took a squad of 28 players, including 4 keepers, to Spain. That's what he wanted. He did it. And through adversity and through all the shit and the difficulties, self-inflicted problems, etc., the things that we've faced the last few months, this team has to come together. Yeah. And I've seen positive things from the last 2 games in Spain. We've still got the game against Forest too. That will be an indicator. But right now, I'm saying to myself, yes, we can. The 12-point gap for me isn't unbridgeable. And TF91 says it's not realistic because of Baltakos, the referees, etc. Was it easy for us the last few seasons? Were the refs on our side? No, they weren't. But we always had the better team. And that's all we need to... Yeah, we've been frustrated by some refereeing decisions this season in our games, in other games. All we can do is focus on ourselves and focus on improving as a team to go out every weekend or every time we play a game and go out and win on merit and with the performance. That's all we need to. That's all we need to care about, and with a view to next season too. And having a team that we like to watch. It's been hard being an Olympiakos fan the last few months, but fans support through the good and the bad. That's what we do.
Exactly. And we don't talk about referees at Gate 7 International anyway, so,
Rarely. Very rarely.
Rarely.
I return the question to you. Can we win the league? Have I changed your mind? Have I convinced you that it's doable?
I honestly believe this is going to be the most exciting playoffs in Greek football history. Like when they introduced the Greek playoffs, the excuse was we want to make the Greek league more entertaining, and it wasn't. Like, you still saw Olympiakos just breezing through and beating them all like they're nothing.
The league was over in December every year.
Exactly,
almost.
exactly. Like, it meant nothing. And I was very worried about this because I was thinking, what if, like, Olympiakos are obviously the best team and they're like 9 points ahead, and then 3 of their best players get injured, and then like a team like PAOK put together a crazy comeback, they win the league, and you send a worse representative in the Champions League qualifiers, and that kind of ruins the how do you call it in English? The table, the UEFA coefficient. That ruins the coefficient. Yes, it didn't happen, but still, like, it still wasn't entertaining. But this season, it's going to be really entertaining. I could see this being a three-way race. You never know. I believe Olympiakos have what it takes to win it. I believe Olympiakos have what it takes to breathe down AEK and Panathinaikos' necks. Maybe
It's a good test of character. It's a good test of character for the players, for the team, for everyone involved.
And there's no Europe now. There's no Europe. This mid-season could prove to be critical. I mean, good performances so far, good results. If their confidence improves, if they come back thinking, you know what, forget about the first half of the season. Never happened. We're Olympiakos. We're going to win everything. Mitchell is really good at that. He had it from his time at Real. He has that arrogance, let's call that arrogance, that we're better than everyone else from his time at Real. He did it with Olympiakos in his first stint. He has to do it here again. Like, forget what happened in the first half. Yes, we didn't beat anyone big, but now we're going to beat them all.
And on that note, I think that's perfect way to end today. Costa, anything else from your side?
No. I think we covered everything. Guys, don't forget to subscribe and like. And obviously, don't forget to support the team. Difficult season, but, gotta support the team. You gotta stand by the players and the managers. Like I said, this is going to be an exciting playoff season.
Well, guys, next game is going to be the 10th of December at the Karaiskaki against Nottingham Forest. That's the next one to look forward to. I think we are going to set up a little preview. We're going to try and get Mr. Door, that was in the comments earlier today, asking us about a preview for that game. We can organise that, and we can talk to our little brothers, little cousins at Nottingham Forest, whatever you want to call them. So we'll set that up, and keep it locked. Don't forget to like before you go. Subscribe if you're tuning in for the first time. We're Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiakos, by the fans, for the fans. We'll see you next time. Κάτι μαγικό, όπου